A house full of testosterone-fueled, aggressive young men may seem like a recipe for disaster. Now, throw in fights against one another, a six-figure contract prize, and alcohol consumption into the mix, and you've created a powder keg poised to explode. This entertaining format, known as The Ultimate Fighter, premiered on January the 17th, 2005, and would be instrumental in the UFC's rise to mainstream success. It showcases the personal stories and intense training of aspiring fighters, making the audience far more invested in the rivalry and personalities. But why didn't it work for boxing? In this video, let's examine the attempts of boxing to match the iconic series before delving into why they failed to gain the same level of popularity. Please leave a like for the algorithm.
It's lights, camera, and a chance of a lifetime for 16 hopefuls from all walks of life, competing for $1 million grand prize as they chase their boxing dream of being the Contender.
Airing just months after The Ultimate Fighter in March 2005, The Contender followed a group of boxers in an elimination-style competition. Divided into East and West Coast teams, the fighters lived together and vied for the chance to choose weekly matchups. The loser of each bout would then be eliminated. It was shown on NBC, with the storied Sugar Ray Leonard and Rocky actor Sylvester Stallone co-hosting the series. Season 1 saw 16 middleweights compete, primarily from America, but with one European and one Mexican. The bouts were 5 rounds in total, and the result would be listed on the fighter's record, whether a win or loss. Many believe that Season 1 had the best boxing talent, and I'd be inclined to agree. The eventual winner, Sergio Mora, would win the WBC World Super Welter title, beating Vernon Forrest, whilst the runner-up, Peter Manfredo, would go on to face Joe Calzaghe and Jeff Lacey. Meanwhile, Ishe Smith, Alfonso Gomez, and Jesse Brinkley's inclusion also ensured a bench strength of talent. Now, coupled with trash talk readily flowing, the ingredients were there for a hit show.
I was standing upstairs watching my spar and get some! I was taunting him. I would love to knock him off quick. Oh my lord!
However, there was a rival show. Fox Network had rushed to air a competing show, The Next Great Champ, hosted by Oscar De La Hoya. 12 aspiring boxers faced off in a similar elimination setting, with the winner securing a pro contract with De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions and $750,000, which was marginally less than the $1 million won by the Contender winner. Yet the show performed very poorly, with the final 6 episodes being relegated to cable FSN. I feel this was likely due to a combination of a rushed production feel, less skilled fighters competing, and simply an obnoxious amount of over-editing.
As training begins right now.
The show would understandably only last for 1 season. I do wonder why. Anyway, despite the Contender garnering greater viewership, by May the 16th, 2005, the series was cancelled due largely to the first season costing NBC $2 million to make per episode. However, there were further issues plaguing the program. Sadly, one of the contenders, Najai Turpin, would take his own existence after his elimination from the show, outside of the gym where he trained. In his memory, the producers set up a trust fund for his daughter, Anye, along with setting up a special tribute on the show. This would inevitably cast a dark shadow over the production and remind everyone how important the stakes were for contestants. Additionally, Sylvester Stallone would walk away from the show, citing the unnecessary challenges as actually hurting the contestants' performance when it came to the actual fights, as the challenges left them exhausted and suffering from minor injuries. But there were operational errors too. NBC decided to air the first 3 episodes on different days and at random times within a single week, making it hard for regular viewers to keep track of when to actually tune in. Regardless, the broad consensus seems to be that Season 1 was the show's heyday. Over the next few years, the show would be passed around networks, especially ESPN and Versus. The seasons were still packed with talent, including Grady Brewer, Cornelius Brundage, and Michael Stewart, and the production value was still high, with full arenas used to generate atmosphere for the elimination bouts. Season 3 winner Sakio Bika even went on to have a solid professional career, fighting Andre Ward and Anthony Dirrell twice, and it wasn't like the trash talk had subsided.
Me right now, baby. Hey, you're not gonna go back home, man. You a coward, man.
That's my man, baby. That's my man. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Right.
But something had changed. US public interest in the sport of boxing was wavering, whilst the new shiny toy, which was MMA, was very much on the come up. People were simply becoming bored of reality TV shows, deeming them to lack originality. But what really hurt the show, compared to The Ultimate Fighter, was down to two things. Firstly, the contender lacked much clear direction at times, especially with the bogus challenges thrown in. Secondly, and it's sad to say, but the lack of alcohol and consequent scraps outside the actual ring led to less of an entertainment factor. While the UFC, especially in the earlier seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, prioritized actual amusement over the safety of individuals, as exemplified by Junie's outbreak for example, the contender organizers were far more wary, instead playing upon the rocky, underdog and even wholesome themes, showing how boxers interacted with their families behind closed doors. Yet people seem to be tired of this underdog and overly dramatic editing gimmick, simply craving carnage and raw unedited content. It also helped that Dana White sought to get the most mentally unhinged people to participate, leading to viral moments consistently.
I do. Let me bang, I do let you bang. Hey. Let me bang again, man. I let you bang. I let you bang.
The show would end in 2009 after season 4 premiered. It also involved 16 fighters from across the globe taking place in Singapore. It's generally considered to be the least successful of the show, underperforming in ratings and failing to retain much of an audience. To me at least, it did seem quite cringe in places.
I wanted to keep fighting, I hate to go out like this. I'm gonna hang my head high. I'm not gonna let this discourage me.
Almost like they were trying too hard to mix something like The Survivor with a genuinely dangerous sport. Consequently, the show would be canned for almost 10 years. In 2018, the show would return, now with Andre Ward as the host and Freddie Roach as the trainer. Streaming on Epix, the 16 contestants included only Americans, all hailing from the middleweight division, aside from a Ukrainian pro, Yevgen Kitrov. But the problem was, when comparing the talent from this season with that of season 1, there was a relative fall-off. Aside from the winner, Brandon Adams, losing to Jermell Charlo for the WBA World Middle title, the other contestants have gone on to have okay careers, but nowhere near the heights of former candidates, though regardless, there were still some entertaining moments. Although the fact that the series was discontinued likely speaks volumes about the overall level of popularity. Now, you may have noticed that we've only focused upon the United States. Surely there are other boxing versions of The Ultimate Fighter out there globally. Well, there was an Australian version of The Contender which aired around 2009. 14 fighters based across Australia and New Zealand were selected to take part in the tournament, which took place at the super middleweight division. The winner would obtain the Contender Australia title and a $250,000 Australian dollar prize fight with Anthony Mundine. Mundine is an Australian boxer and rugby league player who held the WBA super middleweight title twice between 2003 and 2008. There was some solid talent packed in, with Pradeep Singh winning the WBC Asian middle title, eventual winner Garth Wood actually beating Anthony Mundine, and Karius Kariuki boasts an okay record. Yet the series failed to garner much attention in Australia and was canned after only one season. I can partly attribute this to Australia, at the time at least, not being overly obsessed as a nation with boxing, though that is beginning to change. Additionally, the matchups were often plagued with holding and tussling as opposed to silky skills being displayed. It's also hard to overlook some of the questionable trash talk throughout.
I'm lucky I let you do that. Yeah.
Come again?
I'm lucky I let you do that.
Do what?
Come in the ring with a legend. That's your claim to fame. You've been in the ring with me, that's it.
Not yet.
You're going to have your 2 minutes of fame and that's it.
I've just started.
It's over.
Believe me.
They've all one by one tried to be like you, tried to mentally play with me.
Guess what?
They can't.
This time, you haven't got someone that's handpicked, and you know that for a fact.
Are you serious?
I only come face to face with you head on.
In Europe, it was Ukraine who created a spin-off in 2010, naming it The Champion, with the legendary Kostya Tsu and the actor Denis Nikiforov hosting. Despite my limited understanding of Russian, I realised that the banter was readily flowing on this show.
Санек, мне кажется, тебе надо на турнире не по боксу, а по бильярду выступать. Тебе неплохо получается.
There's also been a Contender series in Asia, though it was based around kickboxing. It followed 16 Muay Thai middleweight fighters from across 12 countries, with the winner receiving $150,000 and bragging rights as the Contender champion. Released in 2009, the show was very popular, reaching an audience of over 400 million people worldwide. It managed to tap into the Asian market, as well as boosting the overall interest in Muay Thai in the West. Many felt it put the boxing series to shame. I personally feel it was more of a success, partly as it showcased varying Muay Thai styles from around the globe, so viewers could essentially see how Dutch-based kickboxing stacked up against that of Thailand or Australia, for example. I'd also argue that many of the Asian viewers didn't have the reality show fatigue which now plagued much of the West, as it didn't seem to be as much of a trend in the early 2000s, though I could be wrong on this. From Thailand, Yod Sanklev Fairtax would win the tournament, defeating Australia's John Wayne in the final and cementing both their statuses as kickboxing legends. While boxers from the Contender faded into obscurity, the legacy of Contender Asia largely lived on. Although The Ultimate Fighter has lost some of its mainstream impact in recent years, its influence is undeniable. The show has endured, helping build the UFC brand while spotlighting fighters' personalities and motivations. Boxing, on the other hand, has yet to replicate this success. The sport's global nature, split across various promotions, languages, and cultures, makes it much harder to create a unified platform like TUF. While these barriers might dampen the drama and trash talk, imagine the spectacle of a Soviet-style technician facing off against a gritty Mexican brawler. I'd love to see that someday in the house setting, but for now it remains wishful thinking. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does mean the most. More content will be on its way soon. That's all from me. Cheers.